All right, Saturday night before the Broncos Week 2 game against Pittsburgh. We're breaking down the biggest details because Sean Payton says Bo Nix needs some help from his other guys. So who's got to step up on Sunday to win? Let's talk about it right now. So first point, let's start in the trenches. Sean Payton said the offensive line against Seattle was average at best in both the run and pass game. And I would agree for the most part. I think the offensive line was better in pass protection. You didn't see Bo Nix get hardly blitzed at all. And when he did get some pressure in his face. But he was able to escape and use his legs to keep the drive going or try and make a throw downfield to make a play. So I think you can build some positives off of Week 1's performance. But I think the big thing for the offensive line this week and going forward is going to be in the running game. They need to be better. They need to open up more lanes consistently so that this offense can continue to be on schedule and Sean Payton can open up the playbook as this season goes along. So it starts in the trenches, and they got a big task on Sunday because they're taking on TJ Watt, and I swear to God, I would not feel comfortable having the home security system set and having a 10-foot fence up and him trying to break in. I wouldn't feel comfortable. He is that dynamic of a playmaker. He can stop the run. He can sack your quarterback when he's doubled and even triple teamed sometimes. He's going to be the key, and the offensive line, including the running backs and tight ends who help chip with him, are going to have their hands full trying to contain him. And shifting gears, we'll now talk about the running backs. So the top two running backs for the Broncos in Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin had a hard time getting anything going against the Seahawks. Both of them average under 3 yards a carry for the game in Week 1. That's not going to get it done. Not entirely their fault. Again, we just talked about the offensive line, and they didn't get many yards after contact. Seattle was a great tackling defense in Week 1, and you got to break some tackles in order to pick up some positive yards sometimes, especially when you're running the ball and in the screen game, which is key in Sean Payton's offense. He loves those screens. So for the running backs, you got to run hard. You saw a few runs where they were able to pick up 5, 6, 7, 8 yards a carry, and that's great. But it falls on Sean Payton sticking with the running game, calling 2, 3, 4, even sometimes 4 plays in a row just to really get that running game going and opening up the offense. And it's on the running backs to run hard, run after contact, break some tackles, especially Javonte Williams, who has a lot to prove this year to show he can be the starting running back. So both Williams and McLaughlin got to be good on Sunday in running the ball in the screen game and whenever they're tasked to chip those edges for the Steelers. Now, if the Broncos can get their running game going, then they're going to have to go to play action and the passing game at some point. And that's when the receivers come in. Let's start with Courtland Sutton. He had 12 targets against Seattle, only 4 catches. Unacceptable for Courtland Sutton, who's considered the number one receiver on this team. He's got to have more like 8 or 10. And if he's going to have 12 targets again, that's what I expect against Pittsburgh because they have good corners, and so does Seattle. He's got to fight through and make plays. You also looked at Josh Reynolds, who's probably going to play. They're not going to have Devon Vele, who had 8 catches and was a reliable target for Bo Nix because he caught all 8 of his targets. And that's huge. But I think the big thing for me in the passing game is they need some explosive plays. They have size, which is good if you're just going to throw the ball up and try and go jump mode like basketball. But you have to have some speed. So I want Sean Payton to look at utilizing Marvin Mims more on offense instead of just special teams. He really likes Marvin Mims, but he has yet to utilize him so far. Let's get him some plays. Let's get him some end arounds, a few more in this game. Let's get him on post routes. That's where he was effective in the first few weeks of the season. Also, they're probably going to activate rookie Troy Franklin, who brings some speed as well. Let's utilize him a couple times. Pittsburgh hasn't seen him on film yet, really much, except really that Week 3 preseason game against Arizona where everyone was running the backups. But, I mean, if you get Franklin and Mims involved, combined with Sutton and Reynolds, and then also Dulcich and Troutman, the tight ends, they need to utilize tight ends more. I think that's when you're going to find a more effective passing game combined with the things we've already talked about before. So in summary, offensive line, running backs, wide receivers, all going to help Bo Nix out. And in turn, they will help the Broncos defense out, who got worn out against Seattle in the third quarter and into the fourth quarter because the offense wasn't effective. So those three groups will make the difference in playing better and leading to the Broncos' first win, which could come against Pittsburgh.